this is this character I've created, this person that gets to feel all the feminine feels that I was told by society a long time ago. You don't get to be those things. You don't play with dolls. You don't wear dresses. And I said, I must not have gotten that memo because I do. I like it. And I've been able to find who I am by putting a costume on and realizing I get to take it off. And this is my avenue of like going back and forth.
You do get to do it all. I mean, growing up in Indiana, like, could you have ever, young, could you have ever envisioned all of this? I mean, now, headlining at the Green Room, Drag Race. I mean, was this really like, oh, of course this was like obviously going to happen, or was it just so far from reality?
What is reality? Who is she? Because I am delusional because I grew up thinking that everything not only could it happen, but it was going to happen. Got a lovely taste of adulthood in real life early to say these things can happen, but you have to put in the work, the effort, and dream them into existence. And luckily for me, as a little teen, as a little kid here in the Midwest, there was no doubt about in my mind that I was going to be a Disney princess, or I was going to be on Broadway. I was going to be in movies, on TV. I was going to do all these things my heart desired. So luckily for me, I didn't realize that that's a little more challenging than just speaking it into existence. So I'm lucky that I had that I just knew it was going to happen for me. I think there's like this thing with manifestation, the law of attraction that says like what you put out there, you receive. And so I think I was just putting out more of like this, like, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. And then things kind of shown their self to me and I put effort into them and they kind of happened.
It kind of happens. Where did the vision for Blair St. Clair come from originally?
Blair, a lot of people don't know this. Blair is actually not my original drag name. I am obsessed with vintage Hollywood, and Marilyn Monroe is a huge inspiration of mine. And her name is MM, Marilyn Monroe, and my legal name is Drew. And I wanted a double entendre. So like I was like, okay, D is my name, my initial. So my original drag name was Daphne Duval. I was going to be the double D's of Indianapolis. Thank goodness that didn't stick. And I found who Blair was. The name came from my mom, my biological mom. I'm very lucky to have a lot of support from my family. And I love Gossip Girl. And Blair is like a cute, but also kind of like savvy, sexy character. And there's a street in downtown Indianapolis called St. Clair Street. And my mom called me one day. She's like, I know that Blair name you liked. What about Blair St. Clair? And it just always stuck. Like it was just like, absolutely, that is the name. And the character like was revolved around that love and idolization of Marilyn Monroe and like vintage beauty and like classic beauty, but also like just who I am as a person, which is theatrical and animated and goofy and silly. And I didn't realize at the time, she was me in a wig. And then I was able to develop her more.
Was Leighton Meester your favorite on Gossip Girl?
Absolutely. Because she is so interesting of a character. It's like, are you nice? Are you not nice? Are you mean? Like, do we like you or do we love to hate you? And I was like, I want to be her. I want to be that girl. Like, I want to be the one that you're talking about.
It's kind of like all of the above. It's like we hate you, but we love you, but we're obsessed with you, and like we can't take our eyes off of you.
Yes. And like that's kind of like the makings of a star. And I I feel like I fit the bill.
Do you watch the reboot of Gossip Girl? I mean, I personally could not get into it. I tried. I mean, some people tell me it's great. It wasn't for me, but I'm sure. I mean, do you watch it?
I tried. I watched an episode or two and I didn't necessarily fall out of love with it, but I didn't fall into love with it. I was also moving at the time. There's a lot going on. So I think what you're saying is maybe I shouldn't give it a second go.
I mean, I'm kind of like the same as you are. It's like, well, I'm watching this because I feel I'm obligated to because I'm such a huge Gossip Girl fan of the original. But like you, I'm like, I have no time to like try to convince myself to fall in love with something. So why am I watching this? Because I don't love it. And then that's like my new thing in life. And then I think I got through like 4 episodes. I'm like, I just can't get into this. I'm like, if you're going to have Leighton Meester on in 6 more episodes, I'll sit around and wait for her to show up. But there's none of that. And I'm just like, it's just not for me.
All right. I love a reboot if you're incorporating Easter eggs or like bringing things back in. Gilmore Girls is my favorite TV show of all time. They had a reboot. It wasn't as successful as the original show, but there was enough there for me to still like love all the little isms.
And like some there are those isms, but you really got to dig. And I think like Dorota's on it now. I think the original character, like Susanna, who played Dorota, was written in. But I think it's still the core that these are very few and far between, and it's still like the whole new thing. So
Very much so.
I don't know if you're busy. Listen, you're busy like headlining yeah, the green room. So I don't know if you have time to go back and
We
try
are
to.
busy in rehearsal right now. So once the show has opened and I feel settled and I can live in breathing in the show, then I'll give it a second chance.
Do you remember like did you have vivid memories of the first time you did drag, and what was that like?
I did drag in high school, actually. We had spirit weeks and it was for like homecoming or something like that. And I looked for every single possible reason I could to get into drag. And I was just like, yeah, it's because it's like it's Spirit Week and we're supposed to show spirit and like dress up and look crazy. And I remember there are pictures I'm sure floating out there in the universe. I'm in a horrible Party City wig. I I look back and I'm like, for the first time out in drag, I'm not mad at it. Am I proud of it? No, but I'm not mad. And I would look for opportunities. I remember my first time out at like an event past like school or something. I went to a RuPaul's Drag Race show. It was one of the Battle of the Seasons show, and I was in drag. And this is why it's so important, I think, to have good interactions with the people that you meet. Because I met one of the Drag Race queens. I met Willem, and I remember her telling me, she's like, "You were so beautiful." She could have been lying out of her teeth and just been like, saying something to make me feel good. But that stuck with me. And that was a reason why I was like, yes, I am beautiful. Yes, like I should do this. I want to do this. I'm validated in this. And like that interaction helped propel me to want to keep doing drag.
Was drag race like always the goal? Like when you started, like was it, like as a baby queen coming up, is it always like, look, the goal really is drag race? Or is that just a gross over generalization that I'm making?
Drag race was never the goal. I find, and this is not a judgment, but I find that a lot of queens that are starting drag today, that is the goal. That is like the idea that the epitome or the Olympics where they would like to go. I was studying musical theater and I was cast as a drag queen in a regional production of La Cage aux Folles as one of the Cagelles. And I didn't know much about drag. I think this was in 2014. So this was probably like season 6 of Drag Race. Didn't have the popularity it has today, but it was still something that was widely watched. And I learned about Drag Race, but I learned about drag through this show, like being in theater as a drag queen. And someone was like, "You do realize, like, you can do what we do here every day." And I said, "Oh, so you're telling me I can be my own star of my own show, be the producer, the director, the writer, the everything." And as the type A, like analytical person I am, I was like, yes, science seal delivered, that is for me. So we started doing drag from starting in theater. And then like, of course, like I was doing more in my community and like learning and growing. And then I was getting heavily into drag race and was like, yeah, that's the goal. Like that's where I'm going to be. But I auditioned